Ever since I had my first Alienware 15 back in 2016, I've been on the search, to have the one PC to rule them all. Not really, but to have a laptop that could be both my main desktop PC and make me feel like I wasn't, missing or giving up too much, but something that I could also take with me whenever I need to leave. My job does require me to kind of take what I've got and go sometimes. So, hey everyone, it's Jeff the IT Guy, and today we're going to talk about my journey into testing if the Dell XPS 17 could replace my desktop PC. And if you've been on my channel before, you know that the desktop PC was an NZXT Creator PC. It had an RTX 3090, 64 gigs of RAM, a 10900K, and it was just a beast, right? It was just a beast of a desktop. And so, I wanted to see how well the XPS could do compared to it. And so if you are like me, then you have specific requirements for what it is that you want from your tech and what you want it to be capable to do. And so for me, I want it to perform, have very little noise, and I want it to be reliable. Those are the three main things that I look for in a computer. Those are the three main things that matter to me. And so let's talk about the parameters of this experiment. So first parameter, I ran this experiment for 1 month for both personal and work to see how well it did for both of those. Secondly, I turned off my desktop PC and I didn't use it for anything. I didn't use it a single day during that month. And 3, I did not change my habits to accommodate having a laptop. And what I mean by that is I didn't try to reduce the workload that I was doing or change what I had been doing to accommodate the fact that I had a laptop. I just went about it business as usual. And so with these 3 parameters, I began my experiment, which my wife thought I was crazy. I've done this before, right? And I've complained that I didn't have enough power, that it was too loud, that it just wouldn't work. And my wife, she was pretty tired of hearing about it. But I was determined to see this month through to see how well this PC did. And so I did everything on my Dell XPS. My 9 to 5, which meant taking meetings, doing code builds, cloud architecture, having 300 Chrome tabs open, PowerShell windows, a couple of command prompts, etc. We're talking about being an IT power user. And the XPS handled it like a champ. I mean, it straight gutted those tasks. Now, that could be because it does have an 8-core, 16-thread CPU and 32 gigs of RAM, and a 2060 GPU. However, that is an 135-watt package. That's what the charger's for. I mean, it can draw more than that, but the charger is 135 watts, and then you got to compare it to the Creator PC, which had an 850-watt power supply, and it could pull all of those. So, which of course, the Creator PC could do all of this as well. And I'm not saying that it couldn't. It could do it better and still have some gas left in the tank, right? And so when it was time to take my work on the go, right, I could unplug the cables and just go. And so my work was on my laptop. And I could put it in a low power mode and I could get, about 7 hours of work without having to charge. Now, if I had to take meetings and stuff, that of course would decrease the battery life. Meetings on it, it decreases it no matter what you're on. But doing, architecture and things of that nature, it was fine. And so I was able to do that. And so I game a little bit. And the 2 games I play most are WoW Classic and League of Legends. These aren't the most graphically intensive games. I mean, an M1 Mac can play them at 60 FPS, so it's not that graphically intensive. And it does play COD and other AAA games. It's just not meant for PC gaming. It's a machine meant for professionals. Yeah, professional thorium miners. But, of course, the Creator PC played games better. It played all the games at all the settings, at all the resolutions. It's a beast. It has the best graphics card. It has the top tier Intel chip for gaming. All of those things, right? So, of course, it's going to beat out a laptop that is like 1/8 of the power requirements. And so the next thing that I looked at was video editing. And I wanted to know if I could still do the video editing that I was doing. And let's take into consideration the fact that I'm not the world's best video editor. I don't do a lot of crazy transitions. There's not a lot of overlays and all this stuff happening, right? But I still needed to be able to do short videos and long videos. You know, I do the videos for this channel and I do the videos for my church and things of that nature. And so with a 1080p video at maximum render settings, you know, it's roughly say 12-minute long for this channel, it would take about 3 minutes, right? And a 12-minute video at 4K, it would take about 10 minutes or so. So it could handle video editing well. And I can do all of my editing on this and then, you know, be able to do something else. The weird thing is that when I would edit on the Creator PC, which is really what it's meant for, you couldn't do anything else on the system. It acted like it was stuck in glue or syrup. Like it was so slow and laggy. It's just slow, slow, slow. I mean, you could barely open browsers, use Slack Teams, you know, all of these things. Which that could just be because it's using more of the resources available since it did have more resources available. And of course it did really well at video editing. You've seen the videos and stuff on the channel here, hopefully, of how well it does with video editing. And so the Dell XPS, it handled everything I threw at it. And it stayed quiet while doing it, which was, you know, one of my key things. And so the machine doesn't get loud at all. This is actually the best cooling solution I've ever seen on a Dell. And I've owned a lot of Dells. But, you know, this bliss of the XPS 17, it only lasted about 2 weeks. And so during the second week, I started to get random shutdowns, random restarts, etc. And it was infuriating. I'd be working and boom, it just restart. And then I got to notice that, you know, an important BIOS update would start to flash up through the Dell updater or whatever. And so I updated to the newest BIOS and firmware, and that fixed my problems. I wasn't having the random restarts, the random shutdowns, and all of that. You know, I really lucked out on that occasion. And then I also noticed that during the second week that I needed some sort of USB-C or Thunderbolt dock if I really wanted to be able to have this machine, just be able to unplug it and go, right? And so I went and I purchased an Anker Power Expand 13 or whatever from Amazon. And boom, you know, I was in business. Until I wasn't though. And it would only output to one 2560 by 1440 screen. And then the other one it would output to 2048 by 1080. And then I started to get corrupt window, you know, messages, corrupt OS messages, etc. Right, while using this. And I'm not really for sure why I was getting these. I understand why I was getting, why I couldn't do both screens at 2560. And that's because of the integrated Intel graphics, right? I have an XPS 13 as well, and it can do output to both 2560 by 1440 screens with the USB-C. And I think that's because it has Intel Iris Xe graphics, which are better, of course, than the Intel UHD 630 or whatever is on that, right? And so I think it's a limitation issue. Using a different dongle for a different screen, it alleviated that issue. And so I was able to do, you know, 2560 by 1440 on both screens. However, I was still getting the weird Windows OS corrupt issues. It would restart and try to do, you know, PXE, just all these things that it wasn't doing using dongles. Right? So instead of using dongles and trying this dock, I had those issues. I didn't have any of those issues whatsoever on the XPS 13. So that's very strange. And so I've actually gone and purchased one of Dell's Thunderbolt docks. I think it's like the WD whatever or some WB, I don't know. Whatever the naming is that Dell uses. Thunderbolt docks, it can do 210 watts of power. So that'll get rid of the external power brick for this. And hopefully that should fix the issues. And, you know, whenever I get that, I'm going to test it out and I'll do a video on it, and everything like that. And so in conclusion, the XPS 17, it's an awesome laptop that used under the right conditions and with the right accessories, it is a beast, right? It's a beast for light gaming, video production, and as an IT power user. You know, this is for professionals. That's what the XPS is for. It's for professionals. It's not a gaming PC. It's not, you know, SmackDown editing PC, which it can be, but it's meant for professionals, right? And so this actually led to me selling my Creator PC in favor of using this XPS as my daily machine. And so after a month of using this, I made the decision, well, I don't really need the Creator PC, so I'm going to go ahead and sell it, which I did. And so one of the main selling points to that is having a superior warranty. The warranty for Dell is phenomenal compared to what NZXT offers. If my XPS goes down and I can't boot into it, I can call up Dell and they'll send somebody here the next day to fix it. And if they can't fix it, they'll give me a new one. So that's awesome. That is a peace of mind to me that is worth a ton of money. Being able to have something go wrong and not be down for a long period of time and have my machine up. So when you're in my line of work and what I do, time is money. I bill out at a very high hourly rate, and so due to that, if I'm not able to work, I'm losing money. And so having to take the Creator PC, if something would happen to it, and then shipping it to NZXT and then having no idea what the time frame would be before it was fixed, I was going to lose money on that. And so even though I lost gaming performance and performance overall, what I gained to myself for not having something that's going to be down all the time, not saying that the Creator PC would be, but there's an unspecified length of time that if something did happen, that I would be down and losing money. Now, most I'm going to lose is probably a day versus a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks for however long it's been. So these are just my thoughts, right? This doesn't pertain to everyone. For a lot of people, having the extra power of the Creator PC is going to make a lot of sense for them. Having an XPS laptop for their daily machine that they use as their workstation might not be, feasible to them. And for them, that's fine. But for me, however, it's very feasible, and that's how I got to this conclusion. This was the experiment, that led me to this conclusion. And so I want to thank all of you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can see the review of the Dell Thunderbolt Dock when it comes in, and see if it alleviates the issues that I'm having with my laptop. And as always, keep it real.